position, end of the week, end of the day, and still seeing faces who are eager to get something, even new faces. I hope we won't bore you to that, but yes, a part of the Entas project, I mean, for this particular session, I would be, investing upon a trilogy. Trilogy in the sense that, just keep that in mind, critical thinking in one go, task-based learning in another go, and how to find a field to merge these two, that is media studies and specifically ads, That's how I set about doing it, but it doesn't mean that you all have to be working on ads, to integrate critical thinking. And critical thinking does not necessarily, require task-based learning. I'm not saying these words, I'm just trying to share the way my mind works. For instance, how to make critical thinking more inquiring, more explicit, that's one goal. The second goal is how to make it from task-based approaches and why. In a second I'll show you. And where to work on. Ads are lovely because why? Persuasion is a key term. So if that's how we start doing things, then I have to prove that to you. I mean, why? Why am I thinking about those three different aspects? Now, the very first one is that if you have a look at task-based learning, promise I won't give you an extensive review of task-based methodology. I'm sure you're bored to that after second grade and after what Devrim has told you in detail. But at least if we just have a look at some key concerns in task-based learning. Now, first of all, I'm sure you will all agree that, it's purposeful learning. We keep on saying that, but what do we mean by this? Now, we're talking about task-based learning. Now, first of all, there's the interpersonal dimension. What do we know? We get to hear others' ideas, or we share, we negotiate our own arguments and ideas. So we basically establish interpersonal relations. And knowledge dimension, when we're trying to fulfill a task, we use knowledge, we use skills, we compare things, we come up with decisions, so knowledge dimension is there. Experience dimension exists as well because it might be real or imaginative. We respond to certain experiences when we are dealing with task-based learning. And it's contextual. Contextual means that, we really have a purpose for using that language. That's why those two are interrelated. It's purposeful because within specific context, within specific situations, we get to share ideas and come up with certain conclusions. And more than everything, we want to engage our students in where? In interaction, language use, that's one thing. And engagement in terms of cognition. Engagement in terms of socio-cognitive perspectives. Why? Because we're not just living alone, as individuals, we have contact with people, so we negotiate common grounds. And that's why task-based learning, prioritizes productive aspects of language use. That is, well, when I say productive, it's not a negative term. Of course, we produce language. I mean, and we have to. So we have got a bit of output, if you remember, when dealing with tasks. And above all, it's constructive, isn't it? Why? Because we base everything on prior knowledge and experience. So we draw upon our own experiences to move forward for task accomplishment. So this is just a brief sketch of what we really prioritize when we say task-based learning. Then, how does critical thinking come into play? Now, if you have a look at it, I won't be reading again and again, but you will see that certain similarities, parallel things exist over there. And here, my point is not this, I'm underlining. I'm not saying that critical thinking is a separate thing on its own, like this. No, that's not the case. Even without task-based approaches, we can engage in critical reflection. That's another thing. But if you have a look at this one, what are we sensitive about when we say critical thinking? If that's our question, identify other people's positions, arguments, conclusions. What is this person trying to tell me? put simply. Or evaluating the evidence. What evidence is there? Am I convinced with this view? Asking these questions. Or opposing arguments. What if like this? What about this counter-argument? Seeing different perspectives, getting different ideas. And then, yes, but it's a bit digging deeper. All right? It doesn't stop there. So reading in between the lines. So how am I positioned? Well, how am I being, I don't want to use the word, but I should, manipulated to see things from particular perspectives. We have to be asking this question as well. And identifying false and unfair assumptions when reading books, for reading newspapers, for watching TV when we are, in our virtual environments, busy, So we have to keep track of these notions as well. And we have to persuade other people as well. We need to know how to make strong, sound arguments, right? So what techniques is there, all right, to convince other people? And drawing conclusions, seeking out for evidence, presenting points of view in a very structured, clear way, and we can continue with the list. And from what we've said a slide ago, about task-based learning, do you see matching areas when we engage our students in group work, in task accomplishment, in real-life purpose, responding personally, all these aspects would definitely come into play. But why am I making this critical thinking thing more explicit? Now, this is not just about task-based methodology. I mean, every single day, all right, we are bombarded with lots of images, lots of messages, lots of ideas, all right? And what happens is that it's extremely easy to be involved voluntarily or without willing for it, to be engaged in this kind of thinking. That's why critical thinking has to be explicitly stated. That's what I feel. For instance, propaganda. Can you say that, it's missing from our lives? No, it doesn't. Sorry, friend, but it doesn't, all right? I mean, even when you are talking propaganda of every kind, it might be state-governed, it might be an institution, it might be schools, it might be everywhere, propaganda through images, through statements, everywhere you can come across this. And that's why there's this humorous sign saying that, caution, next 14 years, the moment you start reading, you are exposed to propaganda everywhere, not just Turkey. Right? And what about this one? Really, sometimes arguments are extremely irrelevant, but we might, or our students, or our future students might fail to see it. For instance, can you see any picture that is related to that one? I mean, to that kind of false reasoning? That's irrelevant, totally irrelevant, actually.
Car and the woman.
Yeah, car and the woman. Think about this. I mean, this is an extremely expensive car. If you think about it. If a man is willing to buy the car, do you think, a woman, a very beautiful woman was standing next to it, so I should buy that car? I mean, it's stupid actually, but it works, all right? It's like a hook. Well, we're talking about hooks, and unfortunately a hook, all right? Because in terms of gender bias, it's horrible, of course, but it's totally irrelevant actually, all right? So this kind of thing comes into play. Slippery slope, that's part of false reasoning as well. Can you see which one, triggers that slippery slope?
The one on the top?
Yeah, the one on the top, that's right, when you go. Now, what's the point here? From this metaphor, from this visual conceptualization, can you understand what slippery slope is? Once you start sliding, there is no way to stop. All right, you go to the far end. Our parents, and even us, sometimes do it. Your father says, if you let this girl, let this boy go out at night with friends to a restaurant, next 15 days we can't see the boy, we can't see the girl. I mean, just going to the far end. Or if we let our students get away with it when they do not submit homeworks, we won't be able to collect homeworks anymore. So that's again crashing to the ground. Or if we change the date for it, it will be never ending. So it's just once you make a point, you go to the extremes. But of course, nothing is as sympathetic as this one. For instance, if we let people drink alcohol, they will all become addicts. These are the ones existing as well. So these are all slippery slopes going to the extremes. Ad hominem, a Latin orientation, that's false reasoning as well. You don't argue with a person for the sake of his or her argument or the content of the argument. You argue with the person himself. Like what? George Bush is a nearly idiot. Who would believe in him? For instance, this is ad hominem. I mean, talk about his reasons. Or, you know that Oscar-winning director? I mean, he's nobody but a conspiracy theorist. Now, you're not dealing with the film, you're not dealing with the content of the film, you're just, you know, saying, who would believe, blah, blah. I mean, he's a sloppy and, you know, person, full stop. So ad hominem is this one, all right? You just attack the person, not the idea, not the argument. False dichotomy, no gray areas. Either you do it or you do that. For instance, if you are a very successful manager, you know, in a very competitive free market area, you can never ever be good at family relations. So what is that? I mean, you know, possible, all right? Or no gray areas, either this or that, you know, that sort of thing. That's the question means that you arrive to certain conclusions, but the arguments you make for those conclusions do not lead to that conclusion. Alright? So, back in the question is, you keep on repeating the same conclusion, actually without proposing, you know, any argument for it. You just give the conclusion again as an evidence. Alright? I'll show you examples in a minute. And all kinds of fallacies. For instance, I mean, coming all the way from Socrates and Aristotle, fallacy is very common. For instance, all Dubliners are Irish. Rome is not from Dublin. So Rome is not Irish. Does it work that way? No, it doesn't. This is fallacy. I mean, for instance, all the worker or 50% of the population in Wall Market company is composed of women, but only 33% of the whole population are managers. So this company is discriminating against women. Now, in the sense that such a point exists, but those numbers do not tell us because where, which field, which subsections do they work on? You know, other evidence is required for that one. So these are common fallacies as well. So, a line, like a fallacy, a line, a chain is broken over here. If you have a look at this, which one would you associate it with? Of course, ad hominem. You know, sometimes we do it. So, these are the rather difficult areas. So, this was just a very, very, you know, straightforward and quick presentation, but without spending hours on it. Let's have a look at some of these examples to see what we're talking about. I promised David to keep it as brief as possible, that's why. Otherwise he will kill me. Just do not spend hours. Just look at the cases and try to trace what each of them counts for. Very quickly. this is not an exam, consult the person next to you. I mean, why are you making me nervous? At the end of the day, it's fill in the blanks. I mean, you know. Is it easy or difficult? Easy, isn't it? Yes, I mean.
They're promoting the school, but they're actually promoting the champion basketball team.
Yeah, I mean, here my point is not, well, I'm not claiming that you go straight to your students and start doing this, you know, exercise, but just to create your own interest in the issue, all right? That's why, you know, I'm just speeding up, because later on we will be doing other kinds of task-based learning. But the first one, the State University sent information to my son trying to persuade him to enroll next year, but it was mostly glossy pictures of the champion basketball team. That is irrelevant, isn't it? It's irrelevant. I mean, you know, just playing soccer and university. I mean, if you're defining your... Anyway, we are used to it. When you open Istanbul Edu.tr website, oh, people are on the grass playing guitar, you know, just wandering around, big pictures, everybody's dancing and singing, and you know, until, well, it was just 3 years ago, our students, you know, weren't let inside, and that was the hilarious part, you know, but anyway, keep it, you know. What about the second one? Mr. Coleman made a good point about the club president's plan. It's way over budget, but when we called him a reckless maniac, he resorted to atomic. That's right. The third one which we are really familiar with, I assume, that says I can either work and earn some money, or I can go to school and go into debt, but I think that's yeah, false dichotomy and sometimes false dilemma. Both of them are used, all right? I can work part-time and while I go to school. I mean, you know, what's the problem with that one? You know, so either this or that, you know, oppositions exist. I don't know who reads the political bloggers' propaganda on the internet. Peter opposes voluntary. And by the way, when we say propaganda, well, you have to keep that in mind. It never takes the audience needs into consideration. It's just one way. All right, all the time. I mean, it's not interactive in that sense. But anyway, let's move on. Peter opposes voluntary euthanasia because he says once you allow people to choose to die, the next thing you know, the government will be executing the disabled and everyone over 80. So what is this? It's slippery slope. Why do you believe astronauts never landed on the moon? Because Riley says they didn't, and he always tells the truth. How do you know he always tells the truth? Because the things he says are true. For example, he says that the astronauts never landed on the moon, and that's true. See, I mean, the conclusion all the time comes as a support, you know, but you are not giving any evidence. So what is that? Begging the question, that's the issue. That begs the question, like an idiom, like a phrase, is that one. And the last one is, for instance, this is a very problematic area. I mean, usually, especially at hospitals, such an issue was the case, I think, a few months ago in Turkey as well. For instance, they asked people to give them their ethnical orientation and sources, and it was all in the media. How can they possibly, you know, ask about the ethnical, you know, just roots and things? There's a point, but here, it's a fallacy to say that race and medication, no relation exists. No. it's not the case. Or even for Kırım Congo, for instance, think about that one. The first question they ask, where are you from? Or, you know, Akdeniz Adamisi, I don't know the English anyway. So what happens, the first question they ask, where are your roots, where do you come from? So certain links might exist. So it's a fallacy to make such a strong claim. But see, I mean, when we say critical thinking, it doesn't have to be do. We're always, all the time getting engaged in critical thinking, but just to raise your interest on the topic. And here, as you realize, all these kinds of false reasoning, I mean, really puts one thing to the foreground. That is persuasion. Everybody's trying to persuade others. Am I right? I mean, this way, that way. But sometimes, in this process of persuasion, false reasoning keeps on emerging. So for this particular session, I just wanted to focus on persuasion, and I chose one medium for this, that is ads. Because why ads? It's so common, it's everywhere, all right? We're bombarded by them. So that's why, you know, it might be interesting for your future learners as well. But I'm not claiming that you choose this kind of ads, because my choice was for my target audience, that's you. Your age, your level, your status. But yours might be a different thing, all right? So it's just to generate an idea on that one. So if ads, if we're talking about this one, you know, it comes from the Latin root, advertere. Advertere means what? To turn towards, to turn your face towards, you know. So in that sense, advertisement or, you know, commercials have this kind of, you know, orientation, making someone turn towards something, or some idea, or some product, whatever, all right? If that is the case, why advertising language is important? Now, have a look at these ones. First, it's an act of communication. Do you agree with that? Yes. Definitely. I mean, there's a producer, there's a receiver. I mean, if you think about it. It invites creative and subtle readings. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they're very stupid, but sometimes they do. From the reader's critical engagement, but in saying that you sometimes oppose, you sometimes make fun of, you sometimes say, no, I don't like this ad, you know, so that critical process is generated. Utilizes multimodal resources, that's what we would be focusing on for this particular session. When I say multimodal, what comes to your mind? Verbal, visual, sound, layout, colors, and sometimes some moving changes. We'll have a look at those. And they do reflect and construct, not just reflect, but construct cultural values and identities. So in that sense, they require subtle meaning, and it's all around us. But when we say ads, I'm sure the first thing that comes to your mind is what? Published ones, isn't it? Newspapers, magazines, or whatsoever. That's the first thing that comes to our mind. But that might not be the case. Now, I just want you to start discussing which of them do you think is an ad? Decide.
All of them.
I don't know. Decide. Argue. Consult the person sitting next to you.
Like the first one,
on that one. So, university prospectus.
For sure. For
Do you
sure.
agree? Yes. Definitely, yes, I agree. A film trailer?
For sure.
For sure. Come and watch the film. Persuasion comes into play. A speed limit road sign. I think it's not an ad, isn't it? Why? Because, come on, I mean, you don't go, this is like slippery slope, she says persuasion. No, that's not the case. I mean, that was a trap there. Why not? Why? Because there's a restraint. I mean, it's not your free will. I mean, you pay, for instance, nobody will fine me if I don't buy, a blouse. Although it's advertised, but if you are just exceeding the limit, you'll be punished for it. I mean, there's a restraint there. So, can you really say at? Yes, perhaps if you say that limitations can be, or laws can be forceful types of persuasion, that's possible, but but immediately you can't respond that way. A manufacturer's label seen on clothes. Of course. A shop name on a carrier bag. Definitely, yes. A political manifesto? Yes. I mean, it gives one side, it gives its own view. It's just in a persuasive way. A t-shirt with a slogan, a time to party. What about that? It's again art, my friends. I mean, it doesn't have to be published, it's everywhere. But for this, again, particular session, I will be focusing on none of those. I would be focusing on this one instead. Why? Because think about youth, identity, critical thinking, those concepts. Nobody is watching TV. And they're not reading as well. All the time they're doing what? They're on the internet, all right? That's why I shifted my focus, and let's deal with web page commercials, all right? And how do they differ from printed ads published in newspapers, magazines, brochures, or on the TV, In what sense is it different, That was my key concern. And for this, we can count on these features. That is, they're multimodal. Do you agree with that one? Definitely. I mean, sound pop-ups and, things like that, or whatever you call it, sizzling, things come in and go out and, they're interactive. They're non-linear, isn't it? Definitely. It's not like a reading text, They are more interactive. Definitely, you can click on different parts and then reach on to different links. They're in motion all the time, so they're not static. That's different. Like what? Animated graphics, pop-ups, dissolving, reforming, shifting images, think about that one. That's different. Building various narratives, not just one. And those narratives might show parallelism, if you take it that way. They may allow for synchronic communication. Synchronic means reach us, click here. I mean, we'll give you a response. And that's why they are new. New is a very buzz term, actually. Everything is new. All right? But, new in the sense of our comparative perspective. All right? How does it differ from published ads or ads or commercials on TV? So, if that is the case, we'd better focus on these components. Like what? There needs to be an addresser. Addresser means producer, all right? A voice, whatever. There needs to be addressee. Addressee, that's why it's communication. You said that ads are communication or mediums for communication. But addressee this time means receiver, but the target profile. Target readership, target audience they have in mind. That's very important. Images, typographical features, written, verbal and visual interplays, all these things come into play. And more than ever, it requires hooks. What's a hook? Huh? Yes, that's right. Okay, it's something that captures you. That's initially, split of a second, So those hooks are important. We have to be discovering those hooks as well. Yes, that's it. Mr. Hook, do you remember? From Peter Pan? Yeah, that's right. So, these are some of the hooks. What do you think they're advertising? Guess, predict. That is prediction. Past time. Guessing. These are all hooks, verbal hooks. Nothing put by for a rainy day. Age is a fact of life, but why look it? Why are you ashamed by your mistakes in English? It's something about you. Good looking, reliable, bright. If only more men were like that. Any idea? Any prediction? Any guessing? Nothing. Frozen group. How nice. Okay. That's from the banking discourse, saving sheep, The second one, ladies. What about this one? Language program, of course. Any guess for the last one? Wristwatch. Why? Good looking, reliable, very bright and attractive. Anyway, so, well, these are just to give you a base for a decent some of the hooks. But for the rest of this workshop, I said that I would be working on web page commercials. That's my selection. That's my selection. Because I just want to, you're university students, you're about to finish undergrad studies, some of you might start pursuing graduate studies, and we are in such a society that we have got researchers, academic staff among you, so this is part of our reality. So I'm not claiming that you go and rush and take it to your own students, but if it's my class design, I just want to see how things work in my mind. For your target, future target groups, you can make different selections. Now, initial encounters is my title of the slide. Forget about it, but that's the initial image. So, my first question, we would be working on this in a minute, but taking one micro aspect of it, and then you will see that I would be expanding. Expanding means I will start with tiny focus, and then expand it a bit, and then with verbal aspect, expand it once more. It's like spares, That's the model I've taken. If it fits with your own purpose, you can engage with this kind of modeling in your future tasks. But, what's the ad about? It's a commercial web page ad, but what's that? What is being advertised here? It's not a matter of if you will publish, but when. Nova Express. Let Nova Editing help you publish faster. Contact us for our premier publishing service. So what is that? Just a gist. It's about what? It's about publishing. What's this? Is it an image? Is it a newspaper? Is it what's that? Huh? It's a software, perhaps. But selling a product or selling services? Yes, that's right. Services for editing, for whatever you require for publishing. But we would be expanding on it. Keep that in mind. This is our initial encounter, all right? And please keep that in mind, what kind of metaphor is being created for this one. What is highlighted here? If it's publishing, speed, publishing and speed. How come it becomes relevant? Publishing and speed. Is that the first thing that comes to your mind when we talk about publishing?
publishing takes time. So.
Yes. So,
But yeah, they offer, they offer that they can be fast. So.
yeah, and you know the slogan, or they play upon actually. Have you heard about it? Publish or perish. Yes, that's something, and that's the slogan, that's the motto. Anyway, and as you realize, everything is flying over here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the speed train to typographical features. I mean, attend to those details. Even the letters are, flying. And it's very straightforward, isn't it? Like what? It's not a matter of if you will publish, not but. Not but means persuasive, argumentative in a very strong way. Nova express, in the name, that sort of thing. But to make it more academic-like, that's what we would focus on. Whatever ad we have chosen, first of all, keep that in mind. Yes, it's golden trick, I can say that. First, what functions when you're digging deeper? What functions come into play when we're working on a piece of discourse, all right? One is ideational function, that is trying to hunt for what? What ideas, what perspectives, what components, what messages are being conveyed. We have to be focusing on the ideational function of language, according to Holiday. Two, interpersonal. Who is addressing? Who is the addressee? What's the relation? How is the target profile positioned? We have to be hunting for those details. And the participants. The third one is textual. That is how. What, who, how. How are the components, sequence, position, arranged? I mean, the relation of those parts to each other. How does it become a unity, in the textual form? How is coherence achieved? So, this is three things that you should keep in mind, whatever ad you're working on. If it's starting point, let me give you a brief example of this one first. Can you please just make up groups of, let's say, this is one group, group 5. Have a look at it. This is your picture, and this is the text. I will try to model that to you. You might make a group over here, all right? I'll give you one more, all right? Can you possibly make a group over here, if possible? Can I have some more people coming over here? Please, please, please. All right. Just 3 or more people. You can join more. Yes, that might make a group over here. And can I trace a group over here? Yes, possible. Just to give you a mini idea of what could be done in terms of, a group work. If you are pursuing a task-based, what happens here? You're a group here. You're a group over there, all right? Yeah, it's yours. I'm just giving one for them so that they can have a look at it. Yes, okay. Right. Okay, perhaps like no, yeah, let's say real quick. Now, the best thing is that, this is just to give an idea from what we have discussed so far. The best thing is to identify the core spots. Like what? Look at the colors. What is being advertised? Who is the addresser? Who is being addressed? What images are being presented with what effect? What are the typographical features? See? But if you turn the page over, for each color, all right, you have got expansion of those questions, all right, to hunt for. So, can you just Discuss it among yourselves for a few minutes, if possible. This is just to provide a model to you, you know.
When I'm not around.
Publishing service. Publishing service.
O reklamda kalmış.
No express. No express. Publishing company.
I think that only happens in commercials, you know.
People who like to print their stuff. Yes, who like to publish. Actually, it's not just about people who publish. It's not a matter of people who publish. Yeah, go ahead. It's for the you're
Yeah.
Okay, 3 more minutes because we would be working on the same thing like this. This is the first way. That's why. 3 more minutes.
Hocam, the V should be transferred into W. No.
Yeah. You're right, actually.
I think it's my rating is terrible, so I think it's related to getting higher marks. You just can't really
That's why your research is yeah, that's why like the professors cannot read them. Even right-handed.
Okay, can I give it here to what you have to say? Because we would be expanding on the very same text. This is the mid-draw, and then, we would be expanding on it. That's why I'm just cutting it short. But, just for this particular image and for all these, ideas in the columns, what did you come up with? For instance, what is being advertised? Can you, is it a product or a service or anything? Well, what services, would be included, you think? What have you discussed? What emerged from your group findings? Of course, in real task-based things, it will take time for reporting from each group, but, anything unique? Or you just said publishing and full stop? But what sort of publishing? Yes, that's important. Speed matters. So, academic publishing, publish or perish. So it's not just any publishing. And think about the kind of services that could be provided when we're dealing with academic publishing.
Checking plagiarism.
Yes, checking plagiarism, checking the way you make citations, and to belong to the academic group, that's a community, how to write things, how to make good points in a very argumentative way, and how to present your data. Think about research and blah, 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 results, combinations, the way it would be presented, word limitations, think about all that stuff.
Hocam bir de yeni bir kanun çıktı ya, research vakti zamanında bütün yerine atılacak.
Yes, see the pressure, there is the idea, politicize coming. Who is the addresser then, if that is the case?
PhD students.
Address? Who is the addresser? That's right. It looks like a company, isn't it? So it's selling a service, definitely. Who is being addressed then? Target audience, profile. Who? Well, can you please attend? Academicians, is that all?
No.
Researchers?
Create something, even a brochure.
But this is academic. Speed matters. It's just we would come in a minute. We do your editing, blah, 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 So it's not just any kind of publication, but, academic publication in journals and things. So if that is the case, for instance, can we talk about graduate students? Yes, researchers, academic stuff, you know. So research assistants, you're right. You know, so this kind of target audience. And the image is clear. What is that? What image? What metaphor? What hook is there? High-speed train. Now, a minute ago I talked about academic publishing. The first thing that comes to your mind is what? Speed? Or something else?
Suffering. Is it not? It takes a long time to write something, and you know, you have to edit it, you have to think a lot of approaches and everything.
Yeah, that's right. It takes a really long time, and acceptance to that academic, you know, arena is a thing. It's a politicized thing as well. I agree with those words. But when I say academic publication, the very first things that comes to your mind would be what? Quality. I think, not speed, all right? I mean, that's what you feel like investing on, but in this case, we're on a train speeding, you know, going somewhere. So, when we say who is being addressed, it's not just enough to say that graduate students or academic staff or researchers or research assistants. We have to be defining the expectations, the aspirations of that group as well. How are they positioned? They're positioned as people who are dying, remember, publish or perish, to get published, to get credited, to get accepted to a community, and that's in this process, what matters most is what? Is, according to this, is speed, all right? So that's the way. Remember ideational function, interpersonal, and then textual, and relating it to that one. That's the kind of message and ideology that is being conveyed. So, image is clear, and typographical. I mean, the train is speeding, but it's not enough. The name is speeding, everything is speeding, even the letters, you know, sloping, typographical features are speeding, isn't it? They're not like italics, you know, I don't know how to put it, but you know, and with lots of exclamation marks and punctuation details. Anything else you talked about, you know, when dealing with this picture? Just this picture? Any point? Colors, you know, what did they tell you? Yes, orange, purple, but bluish colors as well, like where blue is safe sound coming, you know, technical and that sort of thing. So, in that sense, it's interesting and it's colorful. It's not black and white. I mean, you know, that's why, you know, sometimes you find it hard to reconcile academic publishing, this image, the colors, you know. I can't say that it readily matches. It conveys different kinds of ideas. But that was, as it says, initial encounter. We shouldn't stop there. It's time to dig deeper again. All right? So, how do we dig deeper? Not always, but sometimes it works. You're familiar with it from our classes, remember? Or some of you have shared it. Now, think about this one. Spatial meaning, spatial layout and organization. I'm not saying that it's a guarantee. It's a guarantee formula, but it's well worth having a look at. All right? Especially when we're talking about visual input. All right? According to Martinet and Van Leeuwen, of course. Now, if you just see the relations, top, ideal, bottom, real, left, given, right, needed. All right? So, this, in a way, think about the mid areas. So, when something is positioned on the right top, that is the cross-section area of what? Ideal and new. If it happens in this one, given means that already established, already known, already trusted, but ideal, then top left would be ideal given. If you keep that layout in mind, we are expanding. I started with the image, but now I'm just expanding it, all right? So it's high time we started working on that one. If you remember that layout, remember? Ideal, real, given, new. What does that visual input tell you? Think about this one. What is positioned where? Think about this one. If I just do something like this, what aspects of this spatial layout is significant for you? Why? That's my question. Now, the picture is centralized. So, top is for something else. Top right, top left, what's happening? Because it's web page, that's why you have to be attending to the spatial layout. Why? Even the placement of the links is extremely meaningful. Because why? Which link comes first, which link comes next? It gives the priority they lay upon the service. That's why it's important in web page commercials. Where is Nova? Our beautiful Nova. High-speeding Nova.
All the ideal things.
So what does that implicate? Given, trust us, we are already established, everybody knows us. Given, and it's ideal, we're ideal. That's why it's no coincidence that it doesn't come somewhere around here. It's top, left. But what is new is that we have an opportunity for what? Free trial. So, free trial has to do with what? Speed? No, has to do with money. And if you think about this one, that's top again, all right? Even before the picture, on top of the picture. So the picture, the metaphor was speed. But look at what is prioritized over there. What is this? Editing per word, translation per word, price, urgent 10p, 3-day 0.8. You know, all these prices are given. So in that sense, in this high-speed service, speed is extremely important, but more important is what? Money. How much you pay for this service, for this editing, all right? So, has to be cheap, has to be very speedy. We don't know right now whether it would in total come up to cheap or not. Opportunity for free trial. Are you forgetting? We are talking about academic publishing. Again, keep that in mind. The ideology is integrated, like what? Speed is important, forget about it. Money you pay for the service is important, all right? But what you do is still not over there, all right? So it's none of the question right now. So, well, when I say dig deeper, it's possible to expand the scope one more. Keep your groups as it is. Please grab one, and then you will get the questions related to that one. Look at the questions and start discussing those questions to synergize the views we have raised. That's right, that's right. They offer service for that, by the way, if you're interested. Okay, start discussing that one as well. It's again to give you a taste how to still approach the touch-based methodology and expanding on it.
Options.
Website, This is what they have. This is what I offer. It is limited as well. It says something like 500.
Like
so it's
here.
probably 500 words.
And by the way, bit of a detail, you know that free trial thing, it keeps rotating and coming back, in the original one. Of course, I had to froze it, to take a picture of it, but it's rotating and changing all the time. It's popping all the time.
5 and 7 is
Why aren't you discussing it? Why is everywhere an individual in the school?
Başkanım sana hangi takım kurabiliriz? Başka bir şey yok.
There's a problem with it.
This looks like an early 2000s. Maybe 90s. Before we move on to the very last stage, I mean, we're coming bit by bit to the closure. Before we move on to the last component of task-based approach, can you just give me a glimpse of what we have discussed? You know, we have already raised issues like visual. I mean, visual, we've already talked about it, but when we say visual, it's not just enough to deal with what you see with what effect. Remember, pre-trial, contact us, you know, flashing, and where is it positioned? Now, spatial organization is very important as well. Where is it positioned? All right, that's very important, and that becomes the most important idea that is being solved by the commercial. All right, like a hood. What attracts your attention? Even the links are very important. Like what? For instance, Nova services, English editing, translation editing. But what gets the lion's share over there? Prices per word, isn't it? You know, that one. And look at this, home, privacy, services, contact us, free trial, you know, that comes at a very centralized place. And visual elements are important. Anything that draws your attention except for this? Okay, what about verbal ones? For instance, look at this. Verbal ones are important in terms of attaining voice as well. When I say voice, I'm talking about the feelings that is given. The kind of relation that has been established with the target audience, all right? So here, when we say verbal aspects like this, bring your research to the world. So in that sense, confidence, but it triggers other words like that, knowledge society, publish, perish, you know, data. Without losing data, without data losing its credibility, you have to get it published, you know. So there's this research world. Either you're part of it, or you lag behind, you're done, all right? So these kinds of pressurized ideologies are given there. But if you think about this one, for instance, what kind of tone, what kind of relation is being established? Is it formal? I'm talking about register here. Is it formal? Is it just casual? I don't think that it's formal at all. It's extremely informal. Why? Contact us, chat with us, questions, question mark. So in that sense, you can't find anything. It's like, we're here like friends, peers to help you out with that, you know. But don't lose what we are actually talking about. We're here talking about academic publications. So in that sense, it's very friendly, intimate relationship, all right? Free trial, trials, you know. It's not a matter of you will, but when will you publish, you know, that sort of thing. So, the final stage of digging deeper comes along with textual, all right? So, I'm not saying that you give the whole thing in one go. If it's web page, all right, we started along with a picture and then moved on to what? Spatial organization, where that picture is organized or positioned, and significance of this in terms of what? Ideational, interpersonal, textual functions. Now it's high time we started working on what? Textual elements, all right? So, if that is the case, this is the last one we would be focusing on. Please grab one. Grab this is the real competitive one, all right? This time we are getting engaged in discourse analysis and textual analysis. But before doing so, have a look at the slide as well. Let's focus on some of the features of persuasive discourse. What is important? Take down notes when you are working. So, did you realize when I say task-based learning, you don't just ask a question. You want your students to organize their or structure their thinking. That's why I keep on giving keywords, columns to fill in. I mean, a structured way of thinking gives you real engagement and output. All right? That's why I keep on giving it as a model, you know. Let's have a look at this one. For instance, when we're doing close reading with persuasion, persuasive discourse and acts usually pursue, problem solution. If you have a problem with this, we're there to help you out, all right? So, my question is, does this text utilize it, make use of it, all right? Argumentation through analogy, usually, you know, argumentation can be of various types, like classification, like generalization, but usually analogies from analogies, comparisons, like what? Can you trace a similar strategy for analogy? Comparisons, like this, macro-micro relations, or two things that is being compared, all right? Keep that in mind. What words are actually used for comparative reference, if it's argumentation for analogy? Repetition, lexical. Grammatical parallelism, usually for coherence it's utilized, that is used extensively to reinforce the message, repeat it up, repeat the same words, all right? Again, can you find traces of this in this particular text? Lexical chains, you know, means that the kinds of related words that create a semantic area, that create an idea, they're related, that's why it's like lexical chains, they're similar, all right? Stylistic choices means references, modality, active, passive, whatever. So, I'm just giving you this list to pronounce or whatever, you know, to, you know, synergize your research. I'm not saying that you have to find every single aspect of it, but usually persuasive discourse have these features. Can you trace them all in here? That's the question. But please now read carefully and try to take down notes for the ones I've given to you. For each box, you know.
Yeah, it would be perfect. We won't hold.
What?
We won't hold.
No, it's not. It's like a quote.
We give the number 2, like our number. They should we are a company that contributes to rating 120. We have a moral responsibility to teach our customers who are the teaching the researchers. To our customers, well, academic, scientific, and medical. That's just high. That's an academic, scientific, and medical. Of course, it's okay, Thailand. So if you're not from Thailand, then you can't do this company. You're from Thailand.
It also includes that national culture, national groups, maybe micro
race.
Not racist. It's not racist. Just a little.
I love exaggerating this one. It's a good one.
I'm going to search for no one now. I'm really
This means that they achieve their point, they achieve their goals. This is novel publishing. They achieve their goals and they bring you search for it on the internet. It's an academic research exposure. There was actually one. They have it. Or they website, there will be a website now.
They have more
one. same slope.
Yeah.
When we were research, they changed it.
This things, I remember this.
Now you can send a message.
Oh, there was questions.
Okay, 3 to 4 minutes. Wrap up. Most striking aspects of this persuasive use Really?
Your region deserves to win.
Mine is
And the offer is no more, you know, they don't offer anymore.
Can you imagine everybody's cousin going and buying services from that? Yeah, and I'll do myself in Madison Square. I was just by the way. See, I mean, we're doing it for this and that, can you imagine everybody goes something else I'm scared to death now.
We are comfortable with shampoo,
Three codes.
Free codes?
They had free code service too.
Thank you very much.
All our important church graders rushing to Nova Express and then submitting papers from there.
Asking you, how did you find us? Where did you hear
From our That's really ironic. Next year I need to change my Okay, now shall we raise a few issues? I know all of these tasks require more time than given. That's not the point. It's just to give you a glimpse, you know, how to go about doing it, you know, and there would be lots of time devoted to, you know, reporting as well, with tiny details. But if you just wrap up, you know, is there any kind of problem solution thing that you have seen or traced? Does it have such an example? Persuasive discourse was said that problem solution strategy is usually utilized. So can you trace anything of that kind?
It says we will help you achieve, which means I need help.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, you know, if you have a problem with this, we'll help with that. I mean, definitely problem solution strategy is being, you know, given or recited, if you take it that way.
And it says we take off your document and research as the bone. So that's the problem. You're gonna
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So the problem is with speed, with precision, you need to publish and we're there to help you with this. Alright, so that problem solution thing exists. But most important one, especially for ideational function, is metaphor. What metaphors have you traced? What analogies? I mean, ball. Give us the ball. Now look at this one. Let's have a look at it. Winners always want the ball, all right? Winners want the ball. I mean, repeat it up again. And then we think of your document research as the ball. Not horrible anyway. We are here to help you and blah, blah, blah. But that ball thing emerges again. Look at where. Give us the ball, we'll both achieve great things. And give us the ball, we will score. And you or families come on the other side. That's what it is, isn't it? And is there any other metaphorical world that has been created? Have you seen it and traced any other? So the analogy is like what? Winners, losers, ball, playing the game. What else?
Achiever.
Achievement. So in that sense, success, failure, you know. Those are positions. Vanguards, do you know that word? Battle, war, vanguards come with that one. And if you think about this, oh, football, vanguards, battle. Whose world is this, men's or women's? Men's, that's another dimension of it. I mean, they don't want female researchers to pass the ball, I assume. Anyway, that's just so. Anyway, so here, if that is the case, I mean, what connotation is this? I mean, look at the ideological function. Again, I'm repeating, it's about academic publication for the researchers. So it's like a game. The ones who publish are the winners. The ones who fail to publish in time are losers. This is like a match, all right? You struggle for it, and we're there to help you. So this is the link. But if we move a bit forward, like comparative reference, or in terms of repetitions are there, but what about the lexical change, word choices? Now, does it have the same style throughout? Or the style, the way of addressing changes? Where? Changes where? First paragraph, first line, second paragraph, where?
Third paragraph.
Definitely, look at this. Suddenly, this football theme thing merges into what? Academic, scientific, medical, cutting edge research. What other words? Exponentially. Wow, wow, wow. The words are very impressive, isn't it? So, exponentially is a mathematical term, you know, how do you expand on it? What else? Knowledge base. From the dawn of humankind to now, you know, really. So, look at this, the research ecosystem of Taiwan, you know. So if you have a look at these words, there's a sudden change of what? Style. The style becomes what? Elevated, purely academic. Then why is that? I mean, we were scoring a ball a minute ago, all right? What happened there? But does it remain over there? No. It again changes? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Yes. How? Customer satisfaction. Repeat customers. Guaranteed. Customers with premier academic, scientific, and medical editing and translating. So take out this publishing and, you know, article stuff. You can put in anything you want as your penalized premier service, like things. It might be dry cleaning as well. You know, anything is possible. But what about the kind of interpersonal relation through these styling choices? What about the interpersonal relation? Intimacy, then suddenly exposing their, we know these words, we can confidently use those words. So high-sounding words that are required in academic publication. And what about that we and you? That's very important as well. What did you trace over there? It's repeated all the time. We want. Yes. Yes. First, it started with that. I agree with that, but detailed reading that one. We will help you. We will score it. We will. But same we or a change occurs.
Change occurs.
The audience is involved at the last one.
Sorry?
As the audience is seen as the part of the group.
That's right.
At the end.
Look, yes, that's the exact thing. That we final line, we will both achieve great things. That we, you know, at the beginning and we at the end, it shows a transition in terms of inclusiveness. I mean, what's included, what's excluded, all right? But then, this customer thing all of a sudden emerges, as you realize. So, if you think about this one, consumption society, consumers, customers, so commodification of language. Why are they offering such a service? They're not providing research to you. English as the language of world academic publications, so giving you a service over there. So in the English mediated publishing ecosystems will help you survive. So you see certain ideologies like commercialization of academic research, commodification of English. So as we dig deeper, that's what we end up with. So we have worked on these columns, and